Assalamu alaikum and greetings to all of you around the world. We are back again today to discuss issues, current issues across SeneGambian region, that's Gambia and Senegal. Once again, greetings to our fans and say Juma Mubarak to you, wherever you are dotted across the world. And we appreciate it a lot, watching us and taking your time and your energy to watch the programs and share the programs. We are also going to be very, very, very grateful, if you can send us stars, or you can sponsor some programs if possible, because we started recruiting young Gambians who we think has potential to make it in the media industry. And we are freely sponsored by Gunjur Online, the management from here. So these boys need some encouragement and support. Anything, that we contributed will really going to be siphoned to them in the Gambia, and they are the people on the ground producing us, creating content and learning in the job. They are doing voluntary there, but our intention is to support them, to empower them and encourage them, citing the fact that, youth unemployment is skyrocketing in that country, and it doesn't seem to be coming down. Once again, welcome to Gunjur Online. Today, Friday, we are back. Again, anytime when we have free time, we come and discuss issues. We have a regular here, but he's a giant when it comes to Gambian thing. Nothing else but his consistency and the respect he earned, because respect do get earned. You have to earn it, and he earned it, by consistency, by not supporting sides that are not on the way of truth. He crisscross searching for truth, wherever that is, in the government, in the opposition, across Senegal, in the Gambia, and across the sub-region. Once again, welcome to our brother Ben Suare. I would like to call him Boon Dowda today. I like that name. I don't know where it comes from. Brother Ben, welcome to Dialogue with the Youth on Gunjur Online. Yeah, can you hear me, Brother Ben? Hello, Brother Ben, can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
You can hear me, can you? I can hear you clearly.
I can't hear you.
All right. All right. Hello, Ben, can you hear me now? Hello, Ben, can you hear me now?
No.
Okay, yeah, once again, we are back, but we're having some technical issues with Brother Ben Suare. I can hear him plainly. I'm not sure why he's not hearing me. And we're going to try again and see, whether he can hear us from this end. And I think, I'm clear enough. I can hear him. I don't know why he's not hearing me. Anyway, once again, as we said today, we have Brother Ben Suare with us here. We are going to discuss, current issues in the sub-region, especially Gambia and Senegal. The sub-region in Gambia and Senegal, because there are issues that are politically and economically and socially there's impact on our lives, and Gambia and Senegal are virtually, not the same country, but we are the same people. What if Senegal sneezes, we will have the Brother Ben, can you hear me now?
I still cannot hear you.
Yeah. Can you go out and come back again? Once again, we're having some technical issues with Brother Ben, and he's not hearing us. Brother Ben, you can go out and come in and come back again. I can hear you very clearly. I don't know why you're not hearing me. Lamin can hear both of us. Just get out and come back again. Yeah.
Let me try that again.
Yeah. Yeah, once again, as we said, we have burning issues to discuss today. The topic, will stretch across issues in Senegal, the tragedy, and, that's culminated in comedy. That's what we can call it, tragic comedy if we want, and the U-turn from Macky Sall, and what implication this will have in Senegal and in the Gambia, and what will be the fate of Usman Sonko. Brother Ben has been commentating on these things. He has been researching, through his background. We will discuss those things. We are also going to discuss about Abasanyan's resignation. Can you hear me now, Brother Ben?
I still can't hear you.
I can hear you clearly, very, very clearly. You can hear me. Yeah, we can hear Brother Ben, but he don't seem.
Gambiana. Welcome to Greenville Estate in the heart of Gunjur, just minutes away from the Gunjur Highway. The estate is located in a serene and nature-oriented environment, which makes it the first community in the Gambia certified by the National Environmental Agency. As part of our Going Green initiative, beautiful trees grace the landscape as you drive into the estate, and we are planting even more trees. Go green and own a piece of our Greenville dream. With 673 plots of land available, you can purchase a plot today and start construction immediately. Find your next home at the Greenville Estate, an affordable estate that suits any budget.
I can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yes, brilliant. I can hear you. I can hear you clearly. Yeah, and sorry about that. Our listeners across the globe, our greetings are extended to all of you dotted around the world. We are back today, as we said on Gunjur Online, to discuss issues that are happening in SeneGambian region specifically. We are here with our brother, an experienced and intelligent man who has been consistently, not biasly, but consistently without bias, giving his opinion on things that are wrong and that are right in the whole of sub-region. And today we are back with him. Brother Ben, thank you for your persistence, your energy, and your consistency, and to stay on the course of the fruit all the time, and that earn you unlimited respect from Gambians and across the world, because, you earn it, not because, people just give it to you. Welcome to Dialogue with the Youth, so on Gunjur Online TV, brother.
Thank you very much, Ebrima, again, for inviting me on this platform. Thank you for all the kind words, generous words you have just said. It's always a pleasure to be on this platform, Gunjo Online, and to be with you, especially to discuss these very important issues regarding our state affairs. And when we say our state affairs, that's SeneGambia as well. With a lot of happenings right now, the development in Senegal, the crossroad that Senegal is, and the influence or impact it's going to have on us. Thank you very much for inviting me again. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Ben. And we have a project Gunjur Online, as we said, please send us the stars. We have now started recruiting young Gambians, in Gunjur as an experiment, to help them to get into media and discourage them on the street so that they can have something that they can cling to. We are paying for them, and definitely it's voluntary basis. We help them to create contents from the Gambia and be producers and technicians also, so that at least they can have something. They will not lose hope in the country, and they will not risk to go through the back way, which is now getting, the doors are getting closer and closer, and people are being deported and all those things. So these young boys, are doing well. They start creating content from the Gambia. So we are giving them those platforms so that they can have something, they can get focused on something and learn and get empowered, and probably with the intention for them to move on and build their own platforms like other platforms, or do something with their life. Brother Ben, welcome. As we always say, and it is pleasure. Anytime you come here, we learn a lot from you, and to always dignify us with your presence at very, very short notice is hugely appreciated across Gunjur Online and our viewers. Brother Ben, Senegal, it was tragedy. It ended up being a comedy. We call it tragic comedy if we want to put the two words together. President Sall just announced that he's not going to go for the third time. Is Mr. Sall forced or abandoned his third term ambition or dream? We are going to talk about that, and what impact will this have across the sub-region, the Senegal and the Gambia, and the whole of ECOWAS and African continent. And what will be the fate of Ousmane Sonko? We are going to also discuss about these things. Will he be still going to jail? Will he stand for next presidential election in Senegal? And is it because of the Senegalese institutions are strong, and the civil societies, the other leaders, and all those things that put pressure on Macky Sall that he has to abandon? We know he has ambition to go. Without those pressure, probably he will continue to take the people's human right and just jack himself to the third time. Brother Ben, welcome. Your opinion. Is he forced to abandon his third term ambition?
Thank you very much, Ebrima. I would want to take that point first. And yes, Macky Sall was completely forced to abandon his ambitions for a third term. And I have to elaborate on this and give the evidence. Because Macky Sall's intentions were at a very early age. I know people still would not believe it. But the reason why many Senegalese intelligentsia went against Macky Sall, constitutional amendment when he just assumed power, it was due to this understanding that Macky Sall was already working on using the same precedents that happened before with his predecessor, former President Wade, in order to use the amendments to justify annulment of the first term that he was going to serve. And this is the importance again of institutions or people standing up to advocate. During the constitutional the debate, and what they did was, because of the challenge, they forced Macky Sall to come out several times to categorically to put it clear that he was not going to run for a third term. That's why today is part of the pressure that those recordings have been provided as what we normally call VAR now, be played to show Macky Sall hypocrisy. But from that amendment, Macky Sall continued, and not only about the constitutional amendment, but brought in an electoral reform, laws. Again, those electoral laws were informed in order to do the second thing, to able to alienate the people that he should, or his opponents are going to oppose him in coming elections. And part of it, I don't have it all of it, is one of us that if a president candidate was sentenced for more than 2 years or more, or fine of particular amount, they will not be qualified for run for elections again. These are all pre-planned for the third term. And the reason, I am going to provide more evidence. I just want to give the reason why would Macky Sall, people might be asking, why would Macky Sall think at that early stage? The same reason that President Wade had, a Democrat, a senior statesperson, someone had been in the opposition fighting for democracy, human rights for so long, decided to undermine the democracy of Senegal, that he was meant to carry on to maintain by trying to run for, by running for a third term, and in fact planning for coronation, is about corruption. And corruption, which is more about the resource capitals of the nation. And if we talk about those resources, is the new found wealth in Senegal, which is mainly the oil and gas deposits. You see? And when Macky Sall came into power, one of the first things Macky Sall did was to review all the existing contracts on explorations, especially on the oil and gas. And we all learned about the scandal again when he moved everything away from what President Wade have created for himself and his cronies. And he created something for himself and his own men. Macky Sall did the same thing by putting his brother, Aliou Sall, whom we all had the expose on BBC of the corruption of oil in the millions and millions of dollars. This is again the evidence that he wanted to stay because he's corrupt. He wanted to stay because of the found wealth, and he will go at any length to undermine democracy. Then, when he was running for the second term, Macky Sall came again and spoke about it categorically. Look, give me a chance for a second term. You see, then he needed the people again. He advocated to be given a chance for the second term. When he crossed the second term, he started to play a game about it. He started to go and marginalize. You see, if you don't have an intention to do to entrench yourself, you will not undermine the democratic institutions. And those democratic institutions were the civil society and the political parties. He went on to undermine the political opposition, and he went to undermine civil society. A group called Y'en a Marre and others that have fought with Macky Sall to ensure that democracy prevail, and Macky Sall became a president. Macky Sall went against those groups, accusing them of funding from outside the jurisdiction of Senegal. But again, he went and bought, the main opposition, the person who took second, which was Idrissa Seck, and cropped it into government. And then the only man standing now was Ousmane Sonko, who came third out of it. At that time, he underestimated the effectiveness of Ousmane, because Ousmane, Passive Party, only had 15%, 12 to 15% of the votes of the previous elections. But the exposure of corruption and the effectiveness of the Passive on advocating and educating the Senegalese youths and holding the government accountable on corruption and every other thing that goes in Senegal gave them a leverage. And they started to have a bigger following, and they became a threat. Macky Sall had to postpone elections of the parliamentary elections and everything in order to position himself in a position of advantage. During the course of this, obviously the incident of the street party happened, That's where Usman Sonko visited a massage parlor, and they knew that Usman Sonko is frequenting a massage parlor, and they used that as an opportunity to get rid of him. And this is where, again, we have seen the fracas that has continued from then on to now. Now, Macky Sall continued and to be asked. The reason they were asking these questions, because there were already signs that he was entrenching himself. Macky Sall went on to not only marginalize the opposition, but marginalize his own coalition, because he is part of a coalition of political parties called Boko Bena Yakar. He went on to remove anybody that would dare challenge his an opinion of a third term. But what the irony is here, that he promoted anybody who advocated for Macky Sall for a third term. This was obvious. It became obvious to Senegalese that this is what Macky Sall trying to do. But again, another thing Macky Sall did was unprecedented, was purging the independent institutions. I talked about the civil society opposition, even his political party, but he went for the security forces. The turnover of senior commanders, be the gendarmerie, be the army and the police, is unprecedented. And all the people retired earlier, and their replacements are not a match. I mean, he promoted senior officers that have questionable background, be in the gendarmerie, be in the police, and in the military. The first person in fact he promoted to take over the reins of this thing, he found out that person was not going to be compromised. In 3 months ago, after in April, he decided to change the head of the army as well again, and these things continue. And this is another indication that if he was not in for entrenchment, he would have left the institutions to function independently as they should. He continued on that, still saying that he was not going to talk about third term. Ebrima, it's not about him talking about it, it's him doing something about it. In a mature democracy, not even mature democracies, we have seen it in Kenya, we have seen it in Ghana, we have seen it even Nigeria, a young democracy. We have seen it in Sierra Leone, a young democracy. We have seen it in Liberia, a young democracy. Where if the last term of office for the president, what they do is they already prepare a transition for their party to usher in a new leader, for that leader to be in position to take over the mantra of the party and to stand as their candidate. But again, to prepare the government, for transition to a new, probably a new happening of the opposition taking over power. And the interesting part of this in Senegal would have been, Macky Sall would have been the first president of Senegal that would oversee an election that he is not part of, which even would have helped cement the democracy of Senegal, because he would not have been compromised. Yeah, he still have a candidate, but he himself would not have been the candidate, and he would have had this opportunity to do a better job. And Senegal would have benefited in having a sitting president who was not taking part in coming elections to oversee elections in a democratic, free and fair way, and Senegal would have seen themselves. But now Macky Sall had two streaks to strike at the same time. That is to make sure he's a candidate to the elections, but to make sure too he stopped his main opponent, the rival, which is Pastef under the president candidate Usman Sonko, which is a delicate move. And many people were, obviously now the fight became more obvious on Usman Sonko candidature rather than Macky Sall's candidature.
Yes.
And he went on to push everything. Everything pushed on Usman Sonko was illegal. It was not about justice. It's about political maneuvering. But on parallel, he have to. It is unprecedented in any democracy that you would be within the year of an election. You do not know who is qualified to be a candidate. all is because of the laws, electoral laws I spoke about earlier, the constitution amendment I spoke about earlier that he put in, but again, his unwillingness to make sure the democracies thrived in Senegal, even within his political party. And the evidence of that, Mimi Touré, because what Macky Sall did was he surrounded himself with yes men and women, people that would just agree on, because of their corruption, because of their incompetence. He appointed the most incompetent interior minister, the most inexperienced interior minister ever in the history of Senegal. The interior ministry is one of the most important the department, the ministries in Senegal. It's always been manned with seasonal administrators or from the security apparatus. But it's not in this case. Now, in this, another evidence was Mimi Touré, who Macky Sall had to use in order to go for his local government elections campaign and to lead the campaign for his parliamentary. But Mimi was adamant from the beginning that she was not supporting a third term for Macky Sall. But the only reason Macky Sall left Mimi there was Mimi was the only recognizable face that he can have to use as a campaign manager. When Mimi still refused, what he did was stop Mimi becoming naturally succeeding to become the Speaker of the House. And we all have, witnessed now, Mimi was technically, fought against by Macky, and now she's out of the Macky coalition. Then if a president was willing to do the right thing, if he was not willing to run for third term, all these things would not have happened. But what Macky did was now to think of another avenue and say that a consultation or a dialogue. And the premise of this dialogue, again, is undermining democracy itself, undermining the rule of law, undermining the justice system. If the main benefactor of this dialogue are people who should not be qualified according to law already. He condemned them already through law. That is Halifa Saleh and Karim Wade, who have already accused and took them to prison and out now. Why is he trying to facilitate their participation?
Yeah.
Because he wants to use them as bargaining chip for them to accept him. And as a candidate, this was the only reason for the dialogue. And obviously, Pastef, Ousmane Sonko, and all the oppositions saw the game he was playing with this third term issue. They refused. There are many organizations that were campaigning against Macky's third term, and they refused to join. The civil society refused to join. And what we have seen from this from that dialogue is mainly these are the same political parties. That is the PS, the People's Socialist Party, the PDS, PDP, People Democratic Socialist Party. These are the main two parties from independence, and this is where Macky Sall, in fact, came out from the PDS after he left the left-wing politics. Now, and these are old people, very old people for that matter, in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. It was not a representation of civil society, of generation, especially the youth generation that are of the majority, that are the majority of the population of Senegal, and that whose future is to be decided on. Then the credibility of that dialogue was already undermined and seen. And the reason Macky Sall went through that dialogue was to use that as an opportunity for his candidature. And again, if you look at the credibility of that, if as a head of state, he was not going to run for a third term. As I said, by now, a candidate that's representing his party or coalition would have been known. But again, he would not have gone through the dialogue as a potential candidate, because he would have renounced to say that I am here to supervise as a head of state, sitting head of state that is going to hand over to a next government or administration, which could be the opposition. I am here to make sure that the freest and fairest elections of Senegal, to add to the guarantor of our democracy is unveiled. This is why we're having this dialogue. But no, part of the dialogue was how to include all the people that are not included. What language is that? He is part of that inclusion.
Yeah.
They went through the dialogue, and out of that dialogue, they made an agreement And now it's for the National Assembly. Now, you see the laws that he created to stop them. Now, to go through the National Assembly in Senegal in order to vote for it, and so that the legislations that are affecting these people would be removed for these people to qualify. Why would he do that? Because he wants something out of it. Again, Karim Wade is demanding that the justice system even clear him. That is again which he have exhausted his appeal. For that to happen would be completely doing an unjust thing for him to be exonerated for corruption that he's already been convicted on, and he have exhausted his appeal process. But Macky Sall is ready to compromise with all that. Why? For his candidature. That's another evidence. Now that became a suspense. Now with everything, the injustice they try with Usman Sonko, still there's no legality in any of the sentences. Now there's a stance, there's a kind of a stalemate in what to do with Usman Sonko or how to proceed with this, how to condemn him from office. Then something else happened. Another evidence. Macky Sall invited of almost 400 mayors from his coalition of political parties on a Friday, on a Saturday for a meeting. And this is before his announcement on a Monday. And in that meeting, Macky Sall was again this choreographed events. Just as when Sadauda said he was going to leave, we have old people coming, oh, don't go, don't go. And these people saying that we disregard the law, we disregard the constitution, whatever it is, other people trying to come in, and other people trying to justify the constitution. These are the justice ministers who, in fact, drafted the laws before and make a point that this law would stop anybody running for 2 consecutive times as a president in Senegal. They all changed their positions and still campaigning for Macky Sall's position. Macky Sall, who would have shut that down a minute that he did not agree with it. But no, in that meeting, the meeting with the mayors, Macky Sall, in fact, made something, a statement which is very dangerous, an incitement of violence. Because we have seen in the process of trying to, suppress Usman Sonko, he went to the extent of using private militias in order to kill the citizens. Why would he have to go that length? But because of the exposure of that event, or those events, and the threat of international courts on him, he cannot use them again. This time around, what he did do, he mobilized the mayors. And in that meeting, he did not condemn them. He did not say that, this is my point. But he promised them that he's going to give his words on Monday and let them be prepared. He said, let them be prepared so that if any eruption of demonstration in your own locality, get your people out and fight them. Would a Republican president ask for the people to fight each other rather than call for law enforcement officers to firemen to come out and maintain order? Again, if he was meant to say something that the people would not have demonstrated. People did not demonstrate that he came off office. Now, until Saturday, Macky Sall, in fact, wanted to run as a candidate. But now, there's a narrative here. Some analysts have said this, and these are credible analysts who have said this, saying that the statement that Macky Sall did on that Saturday in that meeting with the mayors, the incitement of violence, led the security sector, security for senior chiefs of the security services, invite Macky Sall and provided him all the evidence required to say that actually you might not know about this, but your wife and your family and your people close to you are the people that hired these mercenaries, this militia, and sponsored them to do what they did. And for the statement you did here, if you announce your candidature on a Monday and the people come out, we will not be left with any other choice but to keep the country in order. That's the language of we will take you out and make sure the constitution prevails. We will not allow you to bring in something could be a catalyst of a civil war. Can you imagine if demonstration go out there and counter demonstration and so what would happen? And what would the security sector do? And apparently when this happened, Macky Sall, was really shaken. And this is why, in fact, they, as it came out that even the wife did not know of this decision. And again, there are plausible evidence that have been shared on social media where the wife went to a town hall where the party, the APR party of Macky Sall had, and the wife went and sat within the public, where the public is, and waiting for this announcement. Ebrima, if the wife knew that the announcement would not be favorable to the people, that she was going to sit within, she was still going to put herself in that position.
No.
And again, when the announcement was made, the wife was visibly angry. And this wife is never been seen in an angry manner. In fact, she's a very jovial person, to the extent of people thinking that she's not really up there in the head. But she was visibly angry and walked away from that gathering. And days before, on a Saturday night, Sunday night, still senior ministers, propagandists were still out there making a case that he can run and he's going to run for a third term. Then I think there's a clear evidence that the people's power prevailed on Macky Sall, and the international pressure to prevail on Macky Sall, not to run for an election.
Yeah, brother Ben, that's a very, very good analysis, and we seen that, I think we have to give credit to Senegalese institutions here. But at the end of the day, the resolute men of Ousmane Sonko and his party and his supported the youths, and his leadership, because he didn't bulge, he stood his ground, even though there were tens attempts and all those things on his life. And the law enforcement, the abuses, the militias, and every institutions were attacked. And Maggie clearly bulldozed his way into Senegalese institutions, but they resist. At the end of the day, the intelligence here has to stood their ground, in order to tell Macky at the end of the day, Senegal need to prevail. So what did this tell about Ousmane Sonko as a political leader? As you can see, because he embodied everything that most African political parties didn't have. Most of them will cage, or leaderships will be divisive, but he stood his ground, and he muscled. I think through this period, this difficult period, he get momentum. He got support like nobody's business. Around the world, everywhere it's about Ousmane Sonko, Ousmane Sonko. What can we learn? And what did this tell us about the leadership of Ousmane Sonko as an opposition leader? And in essence, forced Macky Sall to take this decision, because he was desperate. Anything he does failed at the end of the day. And Ousmane gets stronger and stronger and stronger. What can we learn from this? Both from Macky Sall's position, I think we will come to that. What can President Barrow in the Gambia learn from Macky Sall's position? What can this benefit us? And what can our opposition leaders learn from Ousmane Sonko? Because he was not part of the establishment, brother Ben, and he climbed his way. Nobody gave him the chance to have this influence, but at the end of the day, he stood his ground. And anytime I see him, he just fascinates me all the time with his words, with how he brings people together. Just before Eid, and then he came out and he talked about issues. It's just like somebody else. It's just not like a normal African politician, but something else. And that captured the attention of the world. Go ahead. What can we learn from this, and what this tell about Ousmane Sonko as a man?
Let me put a follow-up before coming to the Ousmane Sonko bit. That digression you did there about the institutions and the people.
Yes.
Ebrima, the entire praise should go to the people and the passive movement. Why? If the institutions were not undermined, we would not have seen the amount of death we have saw.
Yes.
The institutions This is again a lesson.
And then including the judiciary.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yes. I'm coming to that.
Good.
This is a lesson we should learn, Africans. The executive powers are so excessive. They needed to be reduced. If you checked in the United Kingdom why prime ministers cannot do certain things, because of the executive powers are curtailed. And they have to behave themselves. Macky Sall used the power of the executive and used the instrument of corruption and undermine all these independent institutions. I give you, for instance, as you said, the justice system, because of he have the powers to hire, fire judges and ministers, and other institutions. What does that do? And he have the powers to use a budgetary line, what we call the black box or whatever it is, that to his desires to corrupt, but not only the budget line of the black box, but again, any other budget line they can abuse as they want and nothing will come out of it. He used that in order to corrupt and undermine the justice system. That's first. And we know where justice is already undermined, that fear gets to the people that are to resist, thinking that they can take you on. And when we get to justice, there is an arbitrary here that will defend my rights. That's the first instrument. Second instrument, he went and corrupted the law enforcement agencies, the police and the gendarmerie, to behave in a way and manner as an instrument as for suppression. You see, what we're talking about here is moving from a democracy to a dictatorship. Yeah. And again, the civil society, the mainstream of the civil society, which is mainly, in fact, of the religious scholars as well. We have seen them there because, again, the corruption, that they completely fail to come out and speak out. And if they have spoken out, or Macky Sall made to be aware that they are going to come out to speak out the right way, Macky Sall would not have behaved the way he did. And the other institutions within civil society, which are the traditional leaders and others, we see them all buckle because of fear that they will be dealt with. As we see the amount of arrests, we have seen the media houses fraternity fail, and it's only Wolf and few others private freelance that stood, but most of them are in prison or have gone through the prison system. We have seen the case of Pap Alinya. Yeah. And others and others and others. You see, he managed due to the powers to make the institutions fail. Yes. One thing that prevails is the people's power. The people's power. And which, again, we credit to Pastef, because the mainstream opposition themselves are kind of in alliance with Macky Sall for Sonko to be condemned. Because of what? Sonko became an anti-establishment. That's why when we come to Sonko, we talk about that. But the youth population in Senegal, and again, these are not the sons and daughters of the elites. These are the poor, marginalized youths from the ghettos. That's why whenever you hear, if you know Dakar or know the cities of, the major cities in Senegal, when there's an outbreak, the localities that they call out, those are the marginalized people, and we saw them coming out. This was not the middle class coming out. No. This was not the upper class coming out. This was not the elite standing up. This was not the middle-aged people standing up. This were youths coming out to stand up and fight. Ebrima, if the middle-aged people, if the middle class have stood out and come out, Senegal would have been resolved by now. Yes. But that intelligence have completely failed because of Macky Sall managed, to entrench a dictatorship in Senegal presently. Everything he's doing now is illegal on Ousmane Sonko and others, but is prevailing to that failure. Let's come to Ousmane Sonko and Pastef for that matter. Yeah. We can't talk about Ousmane Sonko as a leader. Yeah. Without talking about his leadership. And his leadership is due to the party he belongs, which is passive. And to my understanding, again, this is a learning moment for Gambians and Africa for that matter. Ebrima, we have never seen something like this in Africa. At the time of Lumumba, at the time of Kwame Nkrumah, at the time of Nyerere, at the time of
Sangara,
how to call it?
Thomas
Zambia,
Sangara,
Zambia, Kenneth Kaunda.
Kaundas, yes.
You see, you know the difference here. All these people came from a majority tribe.
Yeah.
All these people were the elites of society at the time. The other comparisons would be Sankara. But again, Usman did not use force. Usman did not come from the barrel of the gun.
No.
This is about a grassroots. Usman is similar to Nyerere. Usman is similar to Kaunda. Usman is similar to all these other leaders. And I can tell you he have learned from all these people. But the environment Usman came from is completely different from this. Because when we talk about Africa and leadership, we have to talk about the tribal context. Because it's a problem. We can have never seen a democracy in Africa where a minority tribe have led the main opposition and prevailed. When Rollins prevailed in Ghana because he came from the military.
Yeah.
He already became a head of state to prevail. What I mean is to lead a grassroots and prevail to that level. And again, what we learn from here is my understanding of that's what I believe in this case. Usman did not form PASTEF. PASTEF was formed by a broad-based, young, coming up elites, middle class, educated youths within the system who were not happy with the system and could not find a home in the mainstream political parties. And they believe that in order to bring out the solutions, an opposition party have to be formed. It's not going to be a civil society job to do this, but this is a vacuum here, and we need an anti-establishment party. Again, this is my point when I see Gambians forming political parties. I mean, this is the lesson here. When they came out, or during their formations and everything, the founding people, they could have choose among themselves. But they recognized something in Usman. He's eloquent, his track record, from what he have been doing at the tax office, the customs revenue and excise. He was invited and incorporated to lead the nation. And the interesting dynamics of Usman, again, he is not one of the Africans that left the source of Africa to be educated anywhere else. His source of education is in Senegal, be in the primary, be the secondary, be the higher education, be the all the these things. It's formed in Senegal, and that broad base. What I mean about broad base, people that share one thing in common is their ideology. They come from different regions. They come from different tribes. But again, as I said, the tribe factor would fear here. What did the mainstream politician do is try to tag him as a regional leader. And when they started to show you when people are organized, when people are well-intended, when people are equipped with the right qualities to lead, they will prevail. They were seen as a laughing stock when they started to advocate. But you see, you have to find a strategy. And the strategy here is, what is the problem? Senegal have a similar problem to Gambia. Yeah. It's a mainstream political arrangement. It's a system. And they define all these the problems, and they came out with a solution. And that solution is to change the mindset. And mindset of who? The majority of the people. Who are the majority here? And the future of the country are the youths, the marginalized youths. They did not rush to appease anybody. Their ideology and everything was homegrown. Solutions are homegrown. You rarely hear them referring to any solution that is borrowed from outside. These are, look, to tell you that we have the solution within ourselves. You don't hear them using any isms.
No.
Socialisms or any isms. But what they do is they reflect back to the founding fathers of Senegal, from Serigne Touba and everything. They do not shy away from their religion, their faith. Be it Christianity, be it Islam. You see, they did not shy away from themselves. They celebrated their leaders. They celebrated people like Sir Anta Diop. They did not go and borrow leaders from outside. And they went out there and did the work. By going there to educate the youths, engage them. And it built a momentum. But they had a strategy. In political party, you need to be sustainable. Sustainable needs resources. And in all forms, but especially finance. And if you, as an anti-establishment, want to be determined or be sponsored or live on the lifeline of corporate or individual wealthy philanthropists donating or supporting you, you'll be compromised.
Yes.
They believe that the people have the resources and the people are the power and the people will take ownership, and they gave the struggle to the people. And part of the strategy was to get to the diaspora. The first parliamentary elections of the diaspora, Macky Sall took 15 seats from the diaspora. When Pastef ran against Macky Sall, Pastef took 10 seats from Macky Sall. Macky Sall had 5 seats.
Yeah.
Is that not a transformation?
It is a big transformation.
And do you, you realize they understand the importance of the diaspora, the influence of the diaspora, be it resource mobilization, be it their influence on their families. And they have a campaign strategy for a long time. And immediately what they need to do, and that is to explain how they're going to be self-reliant, how they can be productive. And they have a range of capable people that are not in committees, that are not in executive because of because of their competence. Every one of Pastef you have here, you might even think that this person must be much intelligent than
Sonko. Yeah.
They articulate their points. They give people positions and responsibility based on their strength.
And Ben and Brother Ben, that is so important for political parties because every Tom, Dick, and Harry want to be in the executive.
Yeah.
In our part of the world, they want to be in the executive.
No, another point too.
Themselves, yes.
Another point too. The political party leaders want to arrange the executive in a way that they have their loyalists in there, not people that will challenge them, the people who are capable. To this thing. They did not shy away from that. Yeah. If you are competent, you don't scare away from competency.
Yeah.
You treasure competency within you.
Yeah, because Brother Ben, because if you want all to be in the executive, that's why when they go to congresses, people get unhappy because and it compromises the party, it divides the party because everybody want to be in the executive. But if you kind of dilute and put a straight line where everybody is there, you don't have to be in the executive to be more important than the others. And that's another strategy that political parties, young political parties that are going to come in the Gambia, probably can learn from these things. Let them not make the executive so important.
Ebrima, it starts from your intentions.
Yes.
If you harbor the right intentions, if you go into politics to change, not politics to be a leader or be something else, I'll tell you, you will do the right things. But in most cases in African and politics for that matter, ambitious people go into politics to be something for themselves, but not to bleed, to bring about change for the greater good. That's not their intentions. And this is for the understanding and the facts on the ground right now. This is what Pastef had. And Ebrima, within a short period, I've never heard of someone from a non-establishment entity, not from a majority tribe, not from a high, very high, directorate of a ministry or prime minister or anything. Not only run for the first elections and get the 15%. There were more educated people that had political parties. Bacheli and others in Senegal, lecturers and others, they never made that impact because of they lack what Usman Sonko had, they lack what the Pastef had. And in this, we Africans can recognize that this is an example that Africa can learn. We don't need an overthrow of government from the army or anywhere else.
Yeah.
And if we need change, we can organize ourselves, we can bring out leadership, and the people will become change. The people would be the change agents. We don't expect the change to come from anywhere else, but is for inform the people, educate the people, for the people to take up their responsibilities and duties to change. And in the narrative, what they did is they give hope to Senegalese, telling them, look, we don't have to depend on any imperial power, but we have the resources. Here, we have even only if we efficiently fight corruption and control our taxes and invest rightly in the productive economy, we'll salvage our country. But not only that, we have natural resources. And if you listen to Pastef, I mean the supporters, be the youths, be the anything, when they join Pastef, it's because of what they say, what press said, what the project. You always hear the project. You see, it's not a soundbite. The project, and they will all, eloquently explain this to say our natural resources, natural, phosphate. Most people don't know about Senegal having phosphate. Senegal is one of the highest exporter of phosphate, and phosphate is what they made fertilizer from.
Yes.
Now Senegal imports fertilizer. And Pastef is telling them that why should we import fertilizer? Because we are doing business. This government is allowing the multi-imperial
companies
to dictate our economic policy. If Pastef come to power, the first way would be added value here. We make sure we have enough for our farmers and before we export. The people, I'm not telling you Pastef have cascaded the policy. You see, again, this is when I talked about Gambian politics. They wait for elections. Yeah, we'll tell you our manifesto. No, the manifesto belongs to the people. The people have to have ownership of that manifesto. The people should be knowing. Most of the executive members of political parties in Gambia, they don't even know their manifesto of it. But if you go to Senegal, Pastef, there's no other party have done that. They will tell you the manifesto of their party as they even better than they know their national anthem. They talk about the resource fish. They talk about the fisheries. And if they come to oil wealth, it's another thing. Coming to fight about corruption, exposing corruption is another thing. Pastef would go into detail to bring out all the details and accuse the government and accuse whoever is responsible for corruption.
And Brother Ben, they will research also and bring about facts and expose the corrupt people. And this encourage the young people who are in the diaspora, they are tired, they know the potential that their country have. So in essence, they open the university for people of Senegal about the empowerment that is within Senegal. They don't have to rely on anybody else. Yes.
And Ebrima, it's fascinating that when you look at Gambia platforms, you go here, political party. Who do you see that? I don't want to. It's not an insult, but the less able, but who have passion, those are the ones you see representing their party. And the so-called executive members, you can hear, oh, this guy is in this party. You never see them.
No.
What do they do for the party? Why they executive members? Where are the spokespeople? If you hear about the party, it's about their grievances or whatever it is through WhatsApp audios. But look at what Pastef does. The most able, be in any form of this thing, they'll go on platforms and I'll tell you, they'll dominate the narrative. How can you not fall in love with them?
Yeah, definitely. And Brother Ben, I think the institution within opposition party need to be formed so that if there is financial issue, you have a shadow financial minister that will come and explain things and corruptions and lands and there, but they are not there. Brother Ben, what will happen to Macky Sall now? People died in the malicious judiciary, the corruption, his family, and all those things. And in case of, because I don't know whether the legal implication for Sonko will stand alone again and stop him from contesting for next election. What will happen to Macky Sall? What will happen to Usman Sonko? And what will all these two things, have an impact on the Gambia? We have economic virtually Senegalese in the Gambia now. What will happen to them, and what impact will this have on President Barrow and the Gambia generally? Quickly, because we are going to come back to Abasanya's issues.
Okay.
Yes.
No, let's put it in the three cases.
Yes.
Let's put it in three categories. If we can leave Abasanyan things, we can try and have another day for that.
Yes.
This is very important for Gambia to have.
This is important. Yes.
Let's come to what is going to happen to Macky Sall.
Go ahead.
Ebrima, you see, it's sad that our leaders don't understand the office they occupy. What happens to Macky Sall from now on depends on what Macky Sall does to rectify some of the damage he have done. You see, the state is very important. And you see, if Sonko, according to Sonko, it's even discussed.
Yeah.
I believe that. If Sonko comes to power, Macky Sall and his family will be followed for probably financial
impropriation. Yes, yeah.
Macky Sall for human rights abuses and orders. If he stop now and negotiate and put things right, start to put things right, he would be he would not be held accountable on this. That would lead. Let me say this: you can hold someone accountable that he can be named and shamed from a report point of view, but that he will be incarcerated for the crimes that committed. That depends if he handled it well now. If Usman Sonko happened to win, allowed and happened to win the election, Usman Sonko would put the priority of the state first. Usman Sonko will obviously would not want to be seen as going after his opponent, because that would be destabilizing for him.
Yes.
He would want to consolidate power, and he would want to make sure that accountability ensured, but again, he would be very pragmatic. And this is where it comes that the agents that executed some of this might be held accountable in the criminal justice system. They might be held accountable. That depends how Macky Sall maintain this. If Macky Sall continue to infringe the rights and try to stop Sonko, and this struggle continued, and more people die in this, Sonko would not have a choice. Senegal would not have a choice, because already, Pastef again, what Gambia could have learned, have internalized this, the way and manner that have never happened. And Ebrima, I want to just take a moment in that. Frank Branco, the French lawyer, when Usman and Pastef engaged Frank Branco, some Senegalese were even criticizing, saying that this is a disrespect. Why you bring in a white lawyer or French lawyer? Again, this is the practicality of Usman Sonko. And he said it. Look, I am not against France or any other European country. But if I do business, it would be on a win-win situation.
Yes.
And this is the practicality here. He used that lawyer because that lawyer would be ready to do things because he anticipated what was going to happen. It's not about the trial in Senegal. It was about making the trial give it the international dimension, and anything that would have come out from there. And that, if you know the background of Farnbell, he's an activist. And we have seen when this demonstration happened, the injustice and everything else, within 3 weeks, a dossier was compiled. 2 cases were brought up. I mean, 2 legal frameworks were built. One in France against French citizens that have took part in what has happened in Dakar. But he took Macky Sall and most of his the enablers to the court of criminal court of international court of criminal justice, and the word is. I mean, now we had the SR files, we had the Fatuma Bensouda when Yahya Jammeh was doing all these things. Why none of them did what this young guy have able to do? Why they did not take the, and they know this, they know the system more than this young man have. But again, this is why I said it's how much you dedicate to your cause. And people who were saying, oh, Gambian cases were not to that magnitude, because I hear SFL saying that again.
Yeah, and Fat Bensouda also said that, you know, I had this.
Now, you want to say that everything that happened in Gambia, what happened in Senegal in 2 weeks, is more than what happened in Gambia? No.
No.
Because of, again, they did not take the, they don't want to take it, they didn't do it. If the state have done a crime and the state is not willing to investigate and prosecute, this is part of the Rome status, which is fighting against what you call it again? Impunity. And that's what they established, that in March last year, no investigation was done, and this crime against the law. You want to wait for hundreds of people to die?
No.
What sort of justice system is that?
No, definitely not.
It's already established that what have happened is systematic, and proven that the government have, in fact, in a hired mercenaries, which called militias, to kill their citizens, covering it up, because of they brought their law enforcement to cover it up, saying that it was done by mercenaries from outside. Then this government is not ready to investigate. They did not investigate the last one. They are not investigating this. Because of this, now it has the merit to be had. This is a merit to be had. You know that merit to be had, what it does? It stopped Macky Sall and his enablers on track, because now their names are mentioned in the international courts. Whether the international court will find them or not, it's a risk they will not want to take. They're traveling and everything else, and this is part of the pressure that prevail on Macky Sall and not to run that down. Because if he push another, crisis, it might happen. And if that's why thinking that Macky Sall might think about it again, try to find a way and negotiate and allow Sonko to run and make sure the elections are free and fair to avoid, and that will be damage limitation, and the rest will be negotiated as a state and people. What is going to happen to Sonko?
Yeah.
Again, a percentage of that have to be determined by Macky Sall. What he does, because Sonko is not the person provoking anything.
Yes.
Sonko is in the defense. If Macky Sall come in good faith, what all Sonko wants is to run for elections.
Definitely, yes.
Sonko is not asking to go to State House and take over. He's saying that, put me on the ballot. But the opinion polls that have been sanctioned by Macky or anybody else have proven or have indicated that if Sonko runs for election, he is going to win by around 52% from the first round. This is what they're scared of.
Oh.
Now, if that depends on what Macky does, but if Macky push to try to still, it depends on what the Senegalese people do.
Yeah.
Again, why did I say the Senegalese people? Pastef and the youth supporting Pastef are already ready. They will do what they do. But Ebrima, if the head of the Muridia, the Tijaniya, the Lion, the other sects come out and congregate and said to Macky that look, the justice system have been exposed. The guy did not commit a crime.
No.
Look, the so-called sentence is illegal. He cannot be sentenced of a law that did not exist. There's no law to say that criminal these things of the youth, corruption of the youth.
Corruption of the youth. Yeah.
Apparently, the law is a minor, corruption of a minor, and a minor is under 16 or under 18. And this lady was 21, and there's nothing established that happened illegally between them in court of law. You might think what you think, but in court of law, it cannot be proven. The doctors and witnesses and everything cannot be proven. Now, you change the course to say a law that did not exist. How can you find someone? A law did not exist. A law that you have not even charged the person with. This is the level that gone. Now, it's not about justice. If it is justice only, Usman Sonko qualify.
Yes.
Now it's about the will, the will of the people prevailing here. Macky Sall to understand that in order to safeguard Senegalese, what is left of Senegalese integrity, national integrity, it's for him to do the right thing. And if he failed to do that, it's for Senegalese themselves to do it.
To do it, yeah.
Yeah, and again, would be unto the people's power. But there is a lot that we can learn here. And again, this is to talk about the impact on Gambia.
Yes, yes.
And Ebrima, this is something serious to know. Have you realized that in recent days, Nawek is having a problem?
Yes.
Because of Senelec is having a problem.
Even the internet now is having a lot of problem, Ben.
Because of Senegal is having a problem. And if people SeneGambian say, hey, why not we talk about our problem and leave Senegal's problem alone?
Yeah, but because Ben, I'm going to emphasize that because most people or some people here will say, why are you talking about Senegal? But this is not about Senegal because, Senegal, Gambia is Senegal. Anything that went wrong, we can see things, what the impacts are, for our leadership, for even Barrow's mind, his psyche about what is happening in Senegal and all that. So it's important. We cannot have peace. We cannot have anything straight without Senegal having peace in that place, So that's why we bring up this topic, and we are going to discuss this topic alone today. Yeah. And maybe next time we can talk about other topics because these are a lot of implications for the Gambia. Go ahead.
Ebrima, on normal, let's say on normal circumstances or conditions, in fact, Gambia cannot move on without factoring what happens to Senegal or what Senegal would do. Senegal will not move on progressively without thinking of what happens to Senegal, Gambia, or what Gambia would do. We are interlinked.
Yes.
Of one people. It's not about politics.
No.
It's about social first. We are interlinked by economy. We are interlinked by sharing territorial borders and everything else. Then Senegal matters as Gambian matters to Senegalese affairs. But more so, the conditions we are now.
Yeah.
Since what Janneh did was unwittingly compromise our sovereignty to be weak to the extent that we are not a lip, or a par to able to do certain things with Senegal. Let me put this. Many people say, "Oh, Janneh." No, Gambia was in fact even in national issues, international circles, Gambia was punching well above Senegalese influence, and I put the evidence here. The contribution of Sadauda Jawara in the Iran-Iraq conflict, even in the nominated as leader of organizations, Gambia Sadauda would always be forced, or twice, in fact, before Senegalese presidents. The organizations that they shared, I think it was head of the OIC, one of this Islamic this thing, it was Sadauda. Yes. And during that tenure, he impacted on the conflict of Iran-Iraq and other Middle Eastern problems. The West Africans, Senegal's conflict with Guinea-Conakry, technically, it was Sadauda's intervention.
It was, yes.
Senegal is in crisis with Mali, Sadauda, and the latest was Mauritania. And people don't even understand, without the intervention of Sadauda's forward thinking, it could have been a very severe crisis. We could have engulfed Gambia. But Sadauda thought, as the leader of ECOWAS at that time, and sent, I think it was Abbas Bundu or one of them, straight to Mauritania, straight to to Senegal, special envoy, said that we have to talk. We have to talk. And this intervention diffused these things in the international. But if it comes to even trade, I'm not talking about the volume, obviously the bigger economy and everything, but power capita, power population and size, we were doing far better than them. Goods were coming from Gambia to Senegal.
Yes.
Ebrima, another indication was all the border villages between Gambia and Senegal. It was the Senegalese kids coming to Gambian schools. It was not the Gambian kids going to learn French.
Even the hospitals, even the dispensaries
no,
at the border, because I was in Bureng, and Senegalese will cross. They will come with their horse carts and donkey carts, bringing their pregnant women, their sick women to that small clinic.
I am talking of Senegalese elites traveling from Dakar, coming to Banyan Hospital.
Yes.
To be operated upon. They said Angale. They used those Angale. That's an operation more or hernia operations, home operations. Dr. Jones. People knows. Not only people, our families used to travel from Guinea-Conakry, Mali. You see, but that was compromise. But the worst happened on the Barrow. Now, we depend entirely, our security guarantee entirely. You're talking about ECOMOG. ECOMOG is by name.
Yes,
backbone of ECOMOG is Senegal. Because we have seen even the State House, after 6 years, still, every corner of that building is secured by Senegalese. Our security. You talk about our telecoms.
Yeah.
When we have crisis, what do you hear? Oh, we are linking up to what? Dakar.
Wow.
Our electricity. Did we know of the Senegal problems? Now, even our produce.
Yes.
Vegetables.
Onions, anything else. Yes.
Now, you imagine if that country goes into crisis. But, Ebrima, let's look at it the other way. If Macky Sall prevails and condemn Sonko violently and everything else, kill so much and get away with it, with all the corruption, get away with it, and he might not be the president or put in a puppet, stole elections and everything, what message would that send to Adam about?
Definitely. To continue doing what he is doing.
And you can do whatever you want.
Yes.
And in fact, a government in that position would not have the moral courage even to advise anything different to Gambian government. But not only that, they will not advise, but they will support any illegality because of they sat on the same illegality. Now, look at the other side of the coin. Now, if Ousmane Sonko prevails or democracy prevails in Senegal, and Ousmane Sonko becomes the president, what benefits would that bring to Gambia, the influence of our democracy? Would Gambians not have believed in democracy? Definitely. Would Gambians would not have believed in that some person from a lower position of in society or whatever you call it can become? How much positive things we learn from that? But I will tell Gambians one thing. There's some Gambians that subscribe, thinking that, oh, if Sonko comes, he's going to remove economic. That's a lie. Sonko is not going to do anything irresponsible. What Sonko might do is, again, this is based on positive, their ideology, their Pan-Africanist ideology and everything. This is analysis is based on this. Let me put it clear. I don't see the future. I base things on evidence, logical explanation. Based on their Pan-Africanist ideology and everything else, they will want good for Gambia. And they might be active saying to Barrow, because part of what is happening in Gambia is not because of the Senegalese population or only Senegalese national interest, because there's a mafia controlling with Macky Sall, and that mafia is controlling Barrow. And if Sonko distance himself with those mafia, then Sonko will be immune to some of those temptations. And Sonko might review and say to Barrow or whoever is there, we cannot continue this, it's not sustainable. We want a tangible reforms that we have confidence, and we might have a security pact or we might have a bilateral relationship on this, and that might sound or that might serve as a deterrent to destability in Gambia, because stability in Gambia will be destability in Senegal. In Senegal, definitely. But I want to say that Sonko is going to draft, design Senegalese national interest. It is for us Gambians. If we elect and keep a government that is competent, that have our interests and the competency to sit on the table, we have hope. This is the influence we expect from Senegal.
Yeah, Ben, I have to read Pa Barry's message here. He said Ben has a wealth of knowledge about the sub-region. He called me and said, unless and until we have active citizens, then we are nowhere to move. When the government notice that its people are passive, they do anything possible and got free with it. A political party shouldn't only be active during election, it should be on an organization that will hold any government responsible. The Gambia is not yet ready to move until we have the responsible opposition parties with the strong policies, and he said, but Ben he continues to say, the way I'm saying the Gambia going, the same people will continue leading the low class for the rest of our lives if we are not ready to take responsibility. From independence to date, the same narrative, but Sonko in Senegal has started changing that narrative. Then yes, at some point we have to forget about, because if it is only opposition leaders, Macky Sall will be there. He will go for his startup.
Yeah.
But these ordinary people who have nothing to lose, they are poor, they are not highly educated, they are not from the middle class, they are not from the religious class, they are not from the musician class like Yusunduls and Econs who were kept quiet, the whole of this process, and they will be same, at the end of the day, Macky Sall is going to go. But the citizens need to take things in their own hands and demand accountability. And if that means few people are going to die, let's sacrifice for that, for the country to go, for the future to go. How many people died in Senegal? But they are heroes, Ben. They not die like they're cowards. They're heroes who stood, and at the end of the day, they justified that because Macky Sall now is going to hold on to constitution, is going to move on. So sometimes, we have to have people, and sometimes people who know they are sitting at the corner, they say, I don't want to get messy in the politics and all that. But Sonko has to do everything. His life, his freedom, people insult him and all those things. They are like everything, Ben. But at the end of the day, it's Senegalese interest. And I agree, who Senegalese leaders are going to go for Senegal's interest. Is Gambian people have to organize themselves and have leaders that are going to negotiate for their interests, because Senegal has been big, has been wealthier than us, but Jawara's influence and his intelligence, he was able to sit with them and outmaneuver them at any time. At some point, they don't even like him because he outmaneuvered them both nationally, locally, or internationally. So this is very, very important for Gambians to wake up. We have enough intelligent people all around the place, for we to know our interests, and the corrupt leaders, and Ben, definitely this is so important, what you said, because Barrow and anybody else will know at the end of the day, what happened to Macky Sall is good for democracy. And if you do things otherwise, you are likely going to see yourself in a serious situation, or even worse. Brother Ben, we have 8 minutes around this, because, go ahead.
Where I want to surround this is,
yes.
You see, again, we'll come back to Sonko and Pastif.
Yes.
You see, we have to understand what, Senegal is not totally different from us.
Yes.
And during my last travel to Senegal again, most of my travel to Senegal was not about the luxury or anything.
Mm-hmm.
It was a story tour.
Yeah.
It's to confirm some of the things, my suspicion I have, or to try to understand some of the things that I don't. But what I did is I traveled a parallel line that, and if you understand Senegal, it's one of those parallel lines that one has to travel in order to understand Senegal in totality. Understand Senegal in totality. And this is from the Saloum.
Yeah.
To Dakar, then to Jolof, and Fouta. Yeah, because you go to St. Louis and others. This is very vast. If you understand this, it would have mean that you have traveled the other side of this. And over the years, all over these years, following Senegalese, going to visiting Senegal, following Senegalese politics and everything else, we are the same people. The politics is always driven by leaders. And people are driven by leaders. Change is driven by leadership. China if you credit the leap forward in China, I mean, you have to understand the different trajectory that China went through. From Chairman Mao, I mean, the experiment, the disaster, I mean, they did up to where they are. If you have to understand what is happening in Turkey today, you have to understand the Ottoman Empire and where Kemal Atatürk took from and where the Turkish are. You have to understand the difference between the Turks and the Arabs. You have to understand between the Arabs and the Persians, the Iranians.
Yeah.
You see, people are the same of the things. It depends on the leadership they have.
Yeah.
Today, if you want to credit Singapore,
yes,
you have to credit leadership.
You have to see the Lee, his biography I read, and inspirational.
Now,
yes,
if you have to credit, people who credit Rwanda, I say people. I mean, who do they credit? They have to credit a leadership.
Yes.
In UK, wherever they credit, they point to churches.
Yes.
If they credit anything for the healthcare service, they have to, credit the Labour government that introduced the healthcare service.
Exactly.
I mean, you have, because reforms are leadership-led. Revolutions are leadership-led. We cannot turn around and blame the people when we fail. The people will come out if they are led. Gambia are following the leadership they have. And it might be seen as insult to other leaders that proclaim, or people that follow them, or calling up for a different leadership. But if you look at it in a nutshell, it's the same leadership. Or the person or a group that called up to be different leadership, they have to look at themselves. How are we selling this to the people? What strategy? That's why I talk about Sonko and the strategy. Pastef and the strategy. Sonko did not form Pastef. But Pastef already is a vision. They have a vision. They are educated people, broad-based. They did not come from, if you come from an individual or two friends, what happened is your identity will cloud the organization. But these are people from the department. You know, Senegal have this when you graduate. It's not like MDI, NM. Most of these people came from NM. I mean, this is a management like where civil servants are programmed. I call it programmed because you have to go through here. I mean, a bunch of civil servants will go through there. They come out. Others will be magistrates. Others will be, I mean, probably you study law, you study accounting. Others will be custom officers. Others will be this. But they will share this class. And what it does is to create an elite. But from these elites that went through Enam, that Sonko was part of, and others, Basil Jomai Faye, and all most of every other person in Pastef within the country have gone to this thing, and they share ideology, and they share a vision. They came together and they look at the person, and they elected a leader. Now, in Gambia, Senegal used to, I mean, it's the same thing. But people will tell this, and the youths were this thing. Apart from the university coming out to demonstrate, it started with Yanamar. Civil society started to be an activist to to add up. But mainly it was about Dakar University, and when they started to have a university in Gaston, this thing in Saint Louis, then you have the university in Casamas. It became a hub for demonstration. But apart from that, it was the unions. And then the young activists came into this thing. But again, we have to credit social media for that.
Yes.
You see, Osman Sonko would not have been without social media. And that's why at the beginning they say, "Oh, don't bother him. He's just on social media." But again, our people, if we want to transform anything, not only our political parties or new movements or anything, but we have to understand social media and use social media to transform ourselves.
Yeah, Brother Ben, I think we cannot go beyond this anyways, so I know, we can go on and on and on. I think we are going to come back again and talk about this because, and you have to analyze, the bigger picture, the impact all this happening in Senegal we'll have in our own Gambia, in our political system, in our leadership, in awakening even the universities that we are saying now. We are churning out, the students are coming out, there's nothing for them. People almost on a weekly basis, people are deported in planefuls, and they're all coming to the country. And these things are serious. When we have leadership that are basking on corruption, they think this is something that they can proud of, because they're taking the public money, but the security and the insecurity that they are causing for themselves, and for the country, no amount of military or economic or anything can stop that if they continue the corruption that they are doing. So yeah, so Ben, I think that is important. We are going to come to that, and then we are going to talk about the National Assembly and the 2.5 million vehicles, and what impact this will have on our main opposition leader, UDP, because already this create a lot of discussions and even sometimes split within UDP itself, the ordinary members and the MPs and all those things. So definitely we are going to come as quickly as possible when you are free, so that we can continue this topic, especially this vehicle thing, these corruptions and everything. So, but we're going to stop here because very soon it will be Maghrib, and we have to end it here. Thank you to our viewers all over the wherever they are, and a special thank to Pa Barry, my brother, for your contributions. Please share the audios and also the videos, and we are going to come back here and discuss about other issues. As we know, Ben has a huge knowledge and a huge respect, and what he's saying are based on evidence, based on his research. Is not just hearsay, but everybody knows that in the Gambia, his consistency and digging things based on facts and the general good that we can have from these things. Once again, greetings to our viewers all over the place, and our manager Lamin Janneh, and the producer, and all the fans of Gunjur Online and the youth specifically. Thank you. Until next time, and have a good night.
Welcome to Greenville Estate in the heart of Gunjur, just minutes away from the Gunjur Highway. The estate is located in a serene and nature-oriented environment, which makes it the first community in the Gambia certified by the National Environmental Agency. As part of our Going Green initiative, beautiful trees grace the landscape as you drive into the estate, and we are planting even more trees. Go green and own a piece of our Greenville dream. With 673 plots of land available, you can purchase a plot today and start construction immediately. Find your next home at the Greenville Estate, an affordable estate that suits any budget.